3 days had passed since I returned to my family home and understood the situation I was in. Whether it was due to the mental strain or something caused by it, I was plagued by a high fever for 2 days. My neck was sweating profusely, and by midday on the second day, it had started to bleed. By the morning of the third day, the bleeding from my neck had stopped. It was only a slight ooze to begin with. The fever had also dropped to a mild level, and I felt a bit more at ease. However, I felt an unusual itchiness around my neck. It was prickly and itchy. When anything like a pillow, blanket, or towel touched it, a sharp, small pain would shoot through. Because of the bleeding, I thought scabs were forming and causing the itchiness, so I tried to avoid touching it. I buried myself in my futon and tried to ignore it until evening, but when I went to the bathroom, I couldn't help but check in the mirror. Even though I didn't want to see the mirror, I needed to confirm with my own eyes what was happening to me. The mirror reflected a situation I had never seen before. The redness around my neck had completely faded. Instead, the rash had grown larger. Even now, just thinking about it gives me goosebumps, but I need to describe it in detail. Please don't be offended. The line around my neck was originally about 1 centimeter thick. It had turned bright red, contrasting sharply with my naturally very pale skin, making it look like a red string was wrapped around my neck. This was 3 days ago. Now, in the mirror before me, that area was filled with pus. No, that's not entirely accurate. To be precise, the rash that formed the red line was filled with pus, like a cluster of gigantic pimples. Most of them were oozing pus, and it was so disgusting that I threw up on the spot. I washed my neck with cold water, borrowed some ointment from my mother, applied it, and returned to my futon, crying. I couldn't think of anything. The only thing I felt was anger. Why me? After I cried myself out, my phone rang. It was, in situations like this, even a tiny bit of hope can give you incredible energy. Honestly, I had never been so happy to receive a call. Hello? Hey, are you okay? You know, of course I'm not okay. So it's really bad? It's beyond bad. So do you have anything? Yeah. I asked my friends back home, but none of them know much about it. I'm really sorry. I see, so? Honestly, I think Ian had tried various things in his way, but at that moment, I didn't have the luxury to be considerate, so I probably sounded quite selfish. Well, there's someone who's good at dealing with this kind of stuff, a friend of a friend. I can introduce you, but it costs money. It costs money? Yeah, it seems so. What do you want to do? How much? According to my friend, it's about 50,000 yen. 50,000 yen? For me at that time, even though I was working, 50,000 yen was an amount I couldn't afford. The money was a lot, but if it could free me from this fear and suffering, I had no choice. Okay, when can you introduce me? That person is in Gunma right now. I'll ask my friend and get back to you. To backtrack a bit, while I was chanting Namu Amida Butsu in front of the Buddha statue, my mother was on the phone with my grandmother. My grandmother immediately consulted S-sensei. It was more of a plea for help than a consultation, and eventually it was decided that S-sensei would come. However, S-sensei was very busy and, above all, elderly. It was decided that she would come in 3 weeks. This meant I had to endure the anxiety and fear and the possibility that anything could happen for 3 weeks. Given the situation, I felt I had to do whatever I could to calm myself. Leonardo called back around 11 p.m. "Sorry to keep you waiting. I consulted my friend and he got in touch with the person. He can come tomorrow." Tomorrow? Yeah, it's Sunday tomorrow, right? I realized it had been 5 days since I saw it. Strangely, I had forgotten about work. "Got it. Thanks. Will he come to my place?" "Yeah, he'll come to your house. He'll drive there, so text me your address." "What about you? Can you come too?" "Yeah, I'll come." "Is it okay if I pay later?" "I think that should be fine." "Got it. Call me when you're nearby." It was a rather poorly organized plan, but given that I was a young guy, it couldn't be helped.